Okay, hello everybody. Today we are super excited to introduce you to Coach Jenny, who is joining us from very sunny Brooklyn today. And obviously Christina's in beautiful Guatemala, and here I am in snowy Rochester. But we brought Jenny on today because she is known as the Audacity Coach, and she has got a particularly interesting take on motivation and inspiration, which is our theme for this month. So we're super pumped to talk to Jenny. You can find her online at coachjenny.com. And she also runs the Audacity Lab, which is the League of Ambitious Badasses on Facebook. So if you're not a part of that, you want to get an invite. Jenny, can you tell us a little bit more about your coaching practice and what you do?
Absolutely. Sarah and Christina, thank you so much for having me. So I am the Audacity Coach. Yes, I named myself that. And what I do is I work with people who are on the brink of something spectacular. And typically that's their business, right? They have this side hustle or this dream of a business that is just not taking off in the way they want to. So I support them through accountability and what I call my cathartic shoves to get them out of their own way. And I do private coaching, group coaching, lots of different things in delivering that content and that service.
Yeah, and full disclosure, Jenny is my business coach, and she's amazing. So.
Thank you.
I've only heard good things about your coaching, Jenny.
All lies, all lies.
No, it's true. So just to ease in, I know it sometimes feels a little silly to ask a solopreneur about a typical day in your life as a business owner, because I know it can get crazy and chaotic. But do you have a typical day? And if so, what does it look like? If not, what do your different days look like?
I have a typical week. I don't really have a typical day, but I've built my week out to really support all the different things that I like to do. So Monday through Thursday, I provide one-on-one coaching. So I have a set amount of hours that my clients can schedule themselves into their one-on-one coaching. And they're my top priority, right? My coaching clients, the private Audacity coaching clients, they get first dibs on my schedule. And then I build the rest of my schedule around that, with the exception of Fridays. Fridays, even my private coaching clients can't get me because I work from home. All of you that work from home, you know how that's lovely for a while, and then you start like climbing the walls. So every Friday you'll find me at some cool cafe somewhere in Brooklyn or Manhattan working on my own stuff and focusing on my own business, blogging or creating content, working on my next program, and not providing any services. I don't do any interviews or any calls at all on Fridays. And then in between there, I also have different programs that I'm running. And so one of the programs I run is my Audacity Masterclass, where I meet once a month. So every first Tuesday of the month that evening is tied up with Masterclass. And other programs kind of break into that. So that's basically how my schedule looks, but for the most part, I'm always making sure that I'm focused on my priorities, and I'm only doing so much because, like most of us, I'm a chronic innovator. I like to do way too many things. Brandy Morris calls it a chronic innovation disorder. I have that. Have a big problem with that, and I like to invent new things to do, and so I'm always trying to make sure I'm executing with excellence the things I need to do, and I fit that in between my coaching sessions. So I hope that answers that question. I know, like you said, it's wonky for everybody.
Yeah, that's great. And I totally know what you mean about working from home. I'm actually working from a co-working space in Antigua, Guatemala today, so it's a nice little change. Definitely understand that.
Awesome. All right, so let's get right into motivation and inspiration. So about, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Jenny emailed asking if she could write a guest post for One Woman Shop. And she was a little nervous because she's got a bit of a different take on motivation and inspiration, but Christina and I absolutely loved it, and we think that it can really, really change the way that One Woman Shops think about it. So Jenny, will you tell us a little bit about why you think motivation is actually the enemy of solopreneurs?
Yes, this pisses people off everywhere. I think motivation is a crock. It is something that's been sold to us as something that we need, and it's a weakness. The idea that your strategy is to wait for motivation to show up is it's just setting yourself up for failure. And here's why. Motivation is some external source that shows up, and if emotionally we're feeling it in the moment, that motivation works. right? We all know what that's like. Today, I just don't feel like motivated to go to yoga class. We all know what that feels like. I don't feel up to it. So somehow we're using motivation as this thing that is going to work for us. This external, I don't know, visitor named motivation or inspiration is going to knock on the door, and we're going to be ready for it in that moment, and then we're going to be able to do our work. It's useless, right? Whereas willpower, or what I prefer to call tenacity, is a much smarter choice. That means that today I have promised myself that I am going to publish the fourth of my 10-day project. The fourth day is going to be published by 2:30. Period. I didn't feel like doing it. Didn't matter, right? Feeling like doing it and waiting for that motivation to show up is just silly. I had to do it because I promised and made that commitment to myself. So tenacity is a much better choice, right? I'm just going to do it because I said I would do it. So it's all about changing from a place of I'm waiting for this external thing to happen and deciding it's going to come from inside and building the tools you need to stoke your tenacity.
So that's awesome. I'm just wondering, so what would you tell somebody who on this day, it's not so much like I'm not feeling it, but I just didn't get my shit done. Now, do I beat myself up about it, or what do I do about it?
Beating yourself up about what you didn't do is the biggest time waster I have ever heard of, right? We all do it. I do it myself. But, let me spend 20 minutes feeling really crappy about what I didn't do. What's in it for you to do that? That's what I ask you. Like, truly, what's in it for you to spend the time and energy and the ennui just going over and over in your head why you didn't do something? All of that is a blatant procrastination technique. It's, again, waiting for some fun little inspiration or good feeling to show up and get you back into business. If you decide not to do that, oh, wait, I'm beating myself up. This is unproductive. What could I do instead? Instantly, you turn the switch, right? You're going back to your tenacity toolkit and saying, no, I'm going to get something done instead of worrying about what I didn't do. So my whole thing is, instead of asking yourself why, ask yourself, what am I going to do about it?
So just as a follow-up question, is your philosophy that if you get into this routine of kicking motivation out the door, you're not waiting for it, you're just going to, for lack of a better phrase, get shit done, is your philosophy that eventually that's just going to become so routine that you're not going to feel like you're fighting against yourself? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, it's not that simple. I wish that there was a switch I could give you or a pill that tasted like chocolate that did that for you, right? Like, it's not a one-time thing. It's a practice. There's a reason that you need a toolkit of ideas to keep your tenacity going. But yes, my philosophy here is that by waiting for motivation and inspiration and these external things, which I love, by the way, I love it when I'm motivated and inspired. I feel great. But those are feelings. Focusing on feeling great is not enough if you want to have a one-woman shop that's going to rock. You want to have a business that soars. That's my guess. Otherwise, you wouldn't be spending any time listening to me or you two wonderful ladies, right? You're here because you want to make sure that you're kicking ass, that you're taking names, you're making things happen in your business. And we've slowly, and I don't know why, but especially women, we've slowly decided that we're not strong enough to just do it. So yeah, if you start following through, accomplishing things is the best way to inspire yourself to accomplish the next thing, right? Sarah, you participate in something that I do in my coaching practice, which is called the ta-da list. Instead of focusing on your to-do list, let's do a little football spike of what you actually accomplished and write a list every day of your ta-das. And that is really powerful because now you know what you did, and tomorrow you're ready to write an even longer, more epic list.
That's so
Absolutely.
true. I just had another follow-up question, but I know you talk a lot about Hilda, so I want you to introduce Hilda, but I know she's also an obstacle to actually accomplishing. So aside from Hilda, after you introduce her, what do you feel are the biggest, struggles or barriers we run into?
Okay, so first of all, who the heck is Hilda? Hilda is the name I use for what most coaches call the inner critic or the inner saboteur, right? You all know that voice inside your head who says, you suck and you're never going to be anything and why are you even trying? Who do you think you are? That voice. Most coaches call her nice things, right? They talk about her as like this inner critic, which to me gives her like a resume line. I call her Hilda because it's the most ridiculous name I could think of. Apologies to anybody named Hilda. But I call her Hilda because it points out that it's silly, right? It's instantly silly. All of that noise that Hilda puts in your head is just noise, happy nonsense. And she's collected all of these stories to feed you, to keep you safe, to keep you comfortable, to keep you from going outside of your comfort zone and really bringing it. That's Hilda's job. She doesn't want you to rock the boat. She wants you to just stay in your cute little bubble and just behave, right? And so she makes you feel like crap. Her system of doing this is awful, right? The way she goes about it is to make you feel like crap and to fill your head with all this noise of why you suck. But silencing Hilda, or at least quieting her for 5 minutes, is all we need to do. Our job is to figure out, okay, what is the noise she's saying? And how can we come up with a comeback, right? When Hilda says, who do you think you are? I say, the Audacity Coach, B, right? Like, let me tell you who I think I am. I'm somebody who's out to help people. And so it's all about figuring that out. Your second question is about the obstacles. Can you repeat that part there, Sarah?
Yeah, so I know Hilda definitely applies to everybody, right? We're always introducing new new criticisms of ourselves or self-doubt. So I definitely think, especially as a one-woman shop, working alone at home, like this is part of every day for everybody. But what other obstacles do you think keep us back from just being tenacious?
Comparison is a big one. Oh my gosh, compare equals despair, people. How much time do you spend looking at, oh, I wish my brand was that cute. How does she get to do her blog all the time? I wish I was able to do that. I could never do that, right? Like, we spend so much time looking at what other people do. If I hear one more solopreneurial woman say, I wish my videos were as good as what's her face is. We all know that person, right? Or I wish my book was as pretty and Helvetica as that other lady that we all know, right? Like, we all do this, right? We look at what other people are doing, and instead of finding inspiration and being like, that's really cool, how could I take that idea, make it my own, spin it, and put myself out there? We spend a whole lot of time thinking about, gee, I wish I could. Right? So all of that comparison thing is a huge trap. And all it does is create despair. That's why we use the phrase in coaching, and this is not mine, all coaches say this, compare equals despair. One, because it rhymes, and we have to do that as coaches. And two, because it's so true, it makes us feel like crap. Another obstacle that solopreneurs do is do everything alone. We all think that as a one-woman shop, we have to be everything. And so we don't bring in the support that we need. I, for example, hate design. I hate WordPress. I said it. I know. I hate WordPress. I hate figuring out why WordPress, I don't understand the buttons, and I hate figuring out why my plugins are changing every 5 minutes. So I have people who will manage those for me because they're kind of nerdy about it, right? And they enjoy that. So I make sure I work with a virtual assistant who rocks, and I have a designer who helps me. I'm not the greatest writer. That's really scary as copywriters, right, Sarah? Copywriters are always beating their head against the wall that these people assume, well, you know, I took English class in high school, so I should be a great writer. No, that's why there's a skill called copywriting. And I utilize people who have that wonderful skill to help me do that thing. So it's also about knowing, what are your skills? Where are you great? Where are you not so great? And making sure that you're working with a team and you're building that team even before you can afford it. Because I know half of you are also saying the other obstacle is, but I don't have the money, right? I don't have the money. Figure out how to make it happen. Barter until you don't need to barter anymore. Find friends that can help proofread your blog posts before they go up. figure out what you need to do. So those are the biggies, right? No comparisons, because that ain't cute. You know, kill Hilda, shush her up. We don't kill her, but, you know, at least get her quiet and put her in the corner. And finally, get some help. Build your team before you can afford it.
You just kind of summed up all the things that Sarah and I talk about all day long.
Awesome.
We definitely talk about the comparison trap and how we sometimes fall into it, but we try to step back out. And you also did a perfect segue into our next month's theme, which is about partnering and hiring. And we're actually going to ask you more questions about that later on.
Okay.
But I do think that we have to, after this recording goes up, we got to go back to the Facebook group and have everyone come up with a tagline for what they're going to say to Hilda, and maybe a name for
Yes.
Hilda.
Yes, name your Hilda. That's a really important thing. I named her Hilda. A lot of people steal that. You're welcome to use Hilda. But she's been called Gertrude. She's been called Olga, whatever you want.
I was going to say Olga.
There you go.
I feel bad for all Olgas out there.
Poor Olgas. Perfect. Well, we have more questions for you on some of your opinions that are not as popular, but we think are really interesting and kind of balance out some of the other stuff that we've put on One Woman Shop. So one of those is about the law of attraction. We have run a post about it. But Sarah, do you want to ask the question?
Well, yeah, so Christina and I also have just like a bunch of different takes on this too. So the post that we ran was obviously very much for the law of attraction, how you can use it to grow your business. But Jenny, I know you like to riff on a different side of law of attraction, so I just wanted you to talk about that because it's so important that we consider just both sides of everything, especially when we're talking about inspiration, because we can use everything as inspiration.
I love that you brought it up, and you're both being very polite and dancing around the fact that I've called the law of attraction out as a crock. That and motivation. So the fact that I'm a coach, they're coming to take my toaster oven any minute now because I am putting down the things that coaches are supposed to love. I don't think that the law of attraction is a bad thing if you believe in it. In fact, I don't think anything's a bad thing. If you believe in Stitch, and that's what you want to believe in Stitch. My whole point is that I don't think, as coaches in the world, that I am some sort of spiritual leader on the law of attraction. And somehow the law of attraction has become the expected belief of every entrepreneur out there. That entrepreneurship, especially for women, I don't know what that's about either, but us one-woman shop people have to buy into the law of attraction. And if we don't, the reason we're not successful is because we don't buy into the law of attraction. I don't buy into it. I don't believe in magical thinking, right, at all. And I know that makes me kind of weird because I don't believe that if we just put out the intention that the universe is going to conspire and manifest and all those fun little goofy words. I find them goofy. They've never resonated for me. But for years, I tried to pretend that they did because they made me unpopular, right? To speak out against the law of attraction is the new form of blasphemy, right? It totally is. You're not allowed to do it, especially if you're a life coach. We need to take you away in handcuffs. It's just crazy. I believe that we are in business to be who we are and serve the people we're meant to serve, whatever that looks like for you. And choosing one specific idea and blowing it up, and deciding that that is the end-all be-all is really dangerous thinking. So I encourage you to think for yourself and figure out what that is. If it's the law of attraction, go ahead with your bad self. I'm all for it. Most of my clients believe in the law of attraction, even though I yell about it on Huffington Post all the time and how I don't like it. It doesn't matter. The point is, what I believe doesn't matter. It's what you believe. And how do we build your strategies and your plans and your accountability in a way that works for you? So that's my rant on the law of attraction.
I love it, and I have very mixed feelings. Like Sarah said, I can totally see both sides, which is my conclusion with pretty much every discussion, is I can see both sides. But I think what you touched on is something that we say all the time here at One Woman Shop, which is business is not one size fits all. Life is not one size fits all. And I think it can get really dangerous when you basically start comparing and fall into the comparison trap, and you basically try to take one person's model and just attach it to your business. So I really like that you pointed that out.
Thank you.
Yeah. So segueing, another thing that we were reading up on your blog and we really interested us was your ideas about hedging. So could you talk a little bit more about hedging and how that potentially creates issues as a solopreneur?
Sure. Man, you ladies did your homework. So hedging is one of my pet peeves. And what hedging is when we use passive language that is setting ourselves up with an excuse before making a commitment. That doesn't really mean anything. Let me explain. When you say, okay, I want to launch my blog. Okay, let me use this more specific one. I want to write a book. How many women out there are listening to this thinking, yes, one day I want to write a book, right? I want to write a book. Then there's no hedging about that, right? I want to write a book is a very specific statement. I am going to write a book is a little more committed, right? I am going to publish a book by my next birthday is commitment with accountability built in, especially if you told somebody, especially if you told me, let's be real, right? Now, what most people do is hedge. You know, I've really been thinking for a long time that maybe I might want to write a book someday. So maybe, might, sort of, perhaps, someday I might think about. All of that hedging language drives me out of my mind. And the reason is men don't do that, right? Guys don't do that. Male entrepreneurs typically do not hedge when they're figuring out what they want to do. They say what they want to do, they announce it, they make it happen. Audacious people do too. But when you catch yourself hedging, what you're doing is saying, I'm not fully committed. I might want to write a book someday says, I'm playing with this idea, but I'm building in the caveat that I might not do it. So you can't hold me accountable. Ha ha ha. You know, I'm planning to fail. When I say, oh, I'm thinking about maybe, then what's the point of that? That is just noise. And it's something that we do all the freaking time. That's what hedging is.
It is very true. And just in an hour session with Jenny, I think I hedge like every 2 minutes. So.
But I call you out on it, and you're changing. You're making a big difference in your hedging.
Yes, and it does make a big difference when we talk about things that are just going to happen, and we actually make that verbal commitment, whether we realize we're doing it or not.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of coaching, I know Christina had a question, so I'll let her talk about it, but it's all about how solopreneurs, it goes back to the not one size fits all, but how we all kind of approach things differently.
Yeah, so my question for you, Jenny, obviously you have this pretty strong philosophies and you have kind of a, I would say, kick in the butt style. Would you say that's accurate for your coaching?
Yeah, that's very accurate.
Badass, League of Badass. And so my question for you is, do you think that there are different coaching styles that work for different people and fit different people, or is your opinion more that everyone could really benefit from a big, good kick in the ass?
Great question. Oh, no. I get all the time. No, definitely not. I think that everybody deserves to have the coach that is going to push them or support them in the way that they're going to perform at their best. My clientele is limited. I can't coach just anybody. My people, and I love you guys, I know you don't like it when I use this, but I don't know how else to say it. The League of Ambitious Badasses are kind of the land of misfit toys. The people that I work with, we don't fit in a box, right? We're a little out there. We're a little different. We want to live an audacious life, not a good life, not an okay life. We want to live big, and we have a lot to say, a lot to do, and we want to make our impact heard and felt with the right people, right? That is a specific kind of human. And that kind of human responds best to a cathartic shove, a swift kick in the audacity, if you will, right? These are the people that are not looking for somebody who's going to give them a polite nudge and help them figure out why they're struggling with something. I spend so little time on the why, and when I do spend time on the why, I make fun of it, right? I'm like, okay, well, we gave that 4 minutes. Are we done yet? You know? And I push them about what are we going to do about it. But there are so many different coaching styles out there. If you would like, for example, if you espouse the law of attraction and that idea really gets you going, and you feel like, wow, I it is my mindset that I want to work on. And I want to work on my mindset and figure out how I can tap into the law of attraction so I can attract all of that woo-woo nonsense to you. I'm picking on you. But if that's your thing, then there are some really great coaches out there who are friends of mine who do that really beautifully. If you're looking for a business coach who is going to not just coach you, but give a lot of expert consultation and opinion, then find somebody who does that. If you're looking for a coach who, I don't know, prefers to do group things and everything is in a group status, also know if you benefit from working with other people in a similar place. Finding those right people, it really does matter. And figuring out the right coach for you is kind of like figuring out the right spouse for you, right? There's so many different aspects that go into it. The key is to figure out who is going to be on your side helping you out to do what you do best and to provide you with the best support. That was a really long-winded answer, but I hope that got to it.
No, that's great. I really hope that finding a coach isn't as hard as finding a spouse.
It's tough.
There. But no, I just wanted to kind of give another parallel example that I started going to these workout classes when I was in Nicaragua, and the trainers would yell at me, and they would just scream at me in Spanish, and I would tell people this, and they'd be like, "That sounds horrible. Like, did you cry?" I'm like, "Oh no, it was so fun. I loved it. It was great." And so another example, not one size fits all, and that you kind of have to find someone that meshes with your style. So.
Oh, it's so true. Exactly. You know, if you are somebody who wants to go to a yoga studio where it's going to be very spiritually based and there's going to be a lot of spiritualism, or you want to go to a yoga studio where they're going to try to turn you into a pretzel by Tuesday, you know, those are very different approaches, and it's about finding the right one that works for you. Agreed.
Definitely. So to get back to your idea of tenacity, so I'm totally looking at this as just like you are selective with who you work with. How important do you think it is that all one-woman shops are selective about who they work with in order to keep their tenacity at a certain level?
It's more important than you give yourself credit for. Most people, and I don't mean you, Sarah, I mean everybody, most people think that, you know, well, I'm a coach, so I can coach anybody. I'm a copywriter. I can do that for anybody. I can do this for anybody. That's true. But as soon as you say I can do it for anybody, what's the point of hiring you? Because now you're kind of the Walmart of coaches or entrepreneurs, right? And the truth is you probably don't want Walmart shoppers to be who's showing up, right? You want more boutique shoppers to show up. You want to be Anthropologie, right? You want to be whatever that brand is. You want people to come to your business and know, I'm specifically getting this specific thing. And this person works with people and specialize with people who have this specific problem. She solves that specific problem all day long with this personality. That's the key. It's all about what problem do you solve and where does your personality fit in. So the problem that I solve is twofold. One, I don't know what I want, but it ain't this. Or two, I know what I want, but I don't know how to make it happen. Those are the two problems I solve. And I do it with all of my crazy, bubbly, sweet personality that you're probably picking up on. I'm just kidding. So you have to know what that is. What is the problem you solve? What is your spin on it? What is your take on it? And there is your, what do they call it, the USP, your unique selling proposition, which is such a, wordy thing, but that's where it is, right? The magic is in those two pieces. And if you don't have that, you're another vanilla coach, copywriter, solopreneur. And we don't want vanilla. The marketplace doesn't need more vanilla. We don't need more copycats and cookie cutters. We need you.
Yeah, just for the record, I love vanilla ice cream. So every time somebody says that, I'm kind of like, what's wrong with vanilla? But I see what you're saying. But no, one of the things that you've helped me do, Jenny, is really take my business over the last year from when it started and realize who I want to be working with. And it's so helpful for keeping my tenacity and my ambition up when I'm working with people that are made for me, that we really jive together. So I totally agree with everything you just said.
Absolutely. Again, it sets you up for success because now you're doing what you love and you're doing what you do best with people who you enjoy.
Yeah.
Isn't that why we chose this? Otherwise, we'd work for the man.
It's so easy, though, as a one-woman shop, though, to get started and just be like, I just want to work for everybody because I need work, or I need experience, or I need this. So it's really important that we step back as we grow in our businesses to recognize that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree completely. I was going to say, like, my experiences running a business and working with kind of budget. I've been on a budget, totally understand, but with budget people who maybe I didn't mesh with in terms of personality, those days versus working with Sarah every day, kind of just incomparable, and it just completely shifts everything, and it just makes you so much more passionate when you have someone amazing to work with. So
likewise.
I feel like
Both of you.
I feel like that segues into our question about collaborating and partnering really well.
Yeah, so Jenny, like we said, our next month is all about collaboration, hiring, and partnering. And you already touched on how important this is in your business for finding your VA or finding your designer, if those aren't the things you need to be spending time on or that you don't enjoy. But in terms of partnership, we worked on something in the fall, Amplify, and I was lucky to be your partner in that. But Jenny hosted this event, and I just wanted you to touch on like what you really felt the benefits of collaborating on that were in terms of getting the message out and actually making the event really worthwhile for solopreneurs.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Amplify was amazing, and Amplify was amazing for many reasons. We didn't set out to create something just to create something. Number one, most collaborations are like, you're really cool. I would like to spend more time with you. Let's create something out of thin air. That is useless. There's nothing in it for you, right? So there needs to be something in it for the audience, first of all. Who are we writing this for? That was the first thing we did with Amplify. Okay, why are we going to create something? Well, we want to create something for people like us who are leveling up in their business. Awesome. Crystal clear who we're creating it for, because these people are struggling to figure out how they level up their business, and hey, so are we. So we're part of that community. So instantly, creating that collaboration, we were in collaboration with our audience. And then we could, from there, build something that would challenge us and put us out of our comfort zone so that it was an opportunity to do something probably wouldn't do. Most of us wouldn't do just on our own, right? Most of us wouldn't say, hey, I'm just going to write a TED Talk even though TED hasn't called yet, right? Let's have our own TED Talk without TED, you know? So because we were doing it together, we were building in this support to create this experience where all of us were writing a talk which we had never done before. And guess what? When TED calls, we're a little more ready now. So it also allowed us that opportunity. So you see how the different components of a collaboration are also a way for you to stretch beyond what you normally do with the support of somebody else who's in it with you. So as solopreneurs, once in a while you need to be a teammate. And you want to figure out and be particular and specific about when does team make sense. Obviously, this team of the team of two of you makes a lot of sense because both of you are one-woman shops of your own, and you're supporting other one-woman shops like me who want to do these, want to take their business to the next level. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for letting us kind of steal you for next month's topic.
Oh, totally.
I just knew you'd be a great person to ask about that, so thank you.
I think one of the interesting points that you made is that you can be part of your target audience and that can be really beneficial, and that obviously in some areas you want to be the expert, but you don't necessarily have to know everything in order to serve your target client. So I think we're a really good example. Sarah and I don't know everything about running a business. However, we've created a community where other community members can come in and give each other advice. So I think that's really powerful with community and with partnering.
Can I jump on that really quickly? Because that word expert is the most misunderstood thing ever. You know, the idea that I'm an expert in Audacity is kind of funny to me. Like, I've just decided that that's a word I like because I like words that start with A, and now I'm an expert, you know? It is kind of a strange word, and we use the phrases thought leadership and expert, and we weigh them in this way that somehow we're on top of a mountain giving a sermon. Expertise comes from experience, and my expertise in Audacity is ever expanding as I do my work and learn from my clients and as I live my life. And I imagine that every profession has that same element. Every copywriter becomes a better copywriter when they publish their own blog post. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. No, that's perfect. We're so quick to want to be an expert, but it's really, we're all constantly learning.
Exactly.
That's great. All right, so I think we can wrap up kind of our motivation and inspiration, but Christina and I just had some general questions about you as a one-woman shop. So the first one might put you on the spot a little, but do you feel successful, and what makes you feel that way, and what do you credit for your success?
Yes, I feel successful. I have arrived, or whatever they say, because every single day I help somebody who inspires me, period. And arriving to me doesn't have a dollar figure or a number of people that have subscribed to my list. That's not what drives me. I'm not numbers oriented. What drives me is that I helped somebody today. And when I hit the pillow every night, I can say that. That's badass to me.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Thank you.
So along the same line, speaking of helping people, what is one of the coolest things that you've seen come from your coaching clients, whether it's something specific that they've given you as feedback or just more general?
Specific feedback that I've gotten is usually like, I have found potential that they didn't know existed. I have one client who is a member of this tribe as well, and she kind of famously says that I like to strain her potential until it cries for mercy. And I'm all about that. Anytime I get that kind of feedback, I know I've done something right.
I think I know who that person might be.
You do.
Yes. Okay, we'll ask one more question just about business, and then we have a couple rapid fire questions for you. But what is the biggest lesson that you've learned? And you might have already covered it in stuff that you've taught us, but what's the biggest lesson that you've learned the hard way in your business?
What I've learned the hard way in my business is when I say what I really think, people pay attention. And when I say what I think I'm supposed to say, nobody gives a shit. I mean, let's be real. So when I write a post about the thing that everybody else is talking about, wah wah. But when I say something that I really believe in, it's usually contrary. It's usually different from what other people think, because that's how I've always been. So I just kind of embrace my misfit toydom and go with it. It's always served me well.
Perfect.
So what is something that some people wouldn't necessarily know by seeing your online life?
That I live in one room. That's the biggest one. Nobody believes me that I live in one room. You see, my bicycles are hanging from my entertainment center. And over there is my bed. And I'm married somehow, too. So I live in a studio apartment and run my business from my kitchen counter. And so many people feel like they need to create this huge infrastructure, and my infrastructure is, some file folders and a microphone.
Her file folders are very pretty, though.
They are very pretty. I mean, it matters. This matters.
It sure does. All right. So,
what DVDs?
Christina, are you ready for some rapid fire?
I'm ready. Are you ready, Jenny?
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Okay.
Let's do this.
All right. I'll go first. Jenny, favorite social media platform?
Facebook groups.
And why I didn't see that coming.
That's not very rapid fire, but why?
Yeah, Facebook groups. Before Facebook groups existed, I tried to create communities in, I think you guys did this too, right? I tried to create communities that were forums. Remember forums? But Facebook groups are the best thing since sliced bread, and that has allowed me to create the Audacity Lab and connect with people all over the world at a place they're already hanging out all the frickin' time. So, dear Mr. Zucky, please let Facebook groups continue to be a wonderful free option for us. Thank you for making that happen.
Amen.
Okay.
We really suck at rapid fire, but anyway, I would just like to say I'm like 100% a convert, because I was all about the forum. I was like, I hate Facebook groups, and now I've changed my tune, and I'm a fan.
Best thing ever.
Right? Agreed. Okay. On the opposite side, what is the social media platform that you could care less about?
Tumblr, because I just don't get it. What's the point?
So you're not a fan of GIFs?
I just can't. No.
No, I'm with you. What's the best business compliment you've ever received?
You changed my life. I mean, that sounds really weird, but as a coach, if I've changed the way somebody thinks about themselves, that's the best compliment ever.
Awesome. What is your favorite way to rewind after a long day of running your solo business?
Going on a date with my wife. I'm a total romantic there. We've only been together 17 years, so I'm still working on our dating plans. And so going on a date with her, that's definitely tops my list.
Awesome.
I really like follow-up questions. Can I ask a quick follow-up question?
Sure, sure.
What's your idea of a perfect date?
A perfect date is really where I have been able to come up with this great thing that I know she's going to enjoy, or vice versa. For years, we used to, like, I'm going to set a date of things I like to do, so we're going to see a basketball game. And when we swapped it and I was looking for an experience that she would really like to do, it's so much fun because I'm learning about the things that she enjoys. So the perfect date is like taking her to the theater and then going to some really cool little restaurant that we've never been to before here in New York.
That's awesome. But you haven't let go of kickboxing for tap dance yet, right?
No, we haven't gone there yet. My wife takes tap dancing classes with like Broadway dancers, and I take like kickboxing classes because that's who I am. We're so different that way. But we do have a bet, and we are going to do this as soon as I can find tap shoes. I'm going to take a tap class, and she's going to take a kickboxing class. It's going to be epic. At least it'll make for a good blog post.
For sure.
The most important question, do you guys get to be there to watch the other person?
I have seen her tap dance. She has not come to see me kickbox, but mostly because it is not a pretty sight. I look like a mop at the end of that. It's just if you've never taken kickboxing, it is the sweatiest, ugliest thing ever. So I haven't invited her yet.
Well.
All right, and the last rapid fire question. What is the best part about being a one-woman shop, in your opinion?
The people. And that sounds really weird because you think you work by yourself all the time. But the best thing about being a one-woman shop is connecting with other people who are crazy enough to do just that. I love hanging out with other one-woman shop owners. I love being around other solopreneurs and co-working like you're doing, Christina, and just being around that energy. The people are amazing.
Totally agree.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, we're amazing and nuts, and we are publishing You Know You're a Solopreneur When, and it's full of crazy things.
Christina's very public about the fact that she will never marry an entrepreneur because we're all too crazy.
No.
Two of us in one spot's not a good idea.
Yeah, I could see that being a challenge. I could pull this off because my wife has a good job.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so Jenny, let's end with, we want to know just like what you're currently working on. I know, Christina wanted to ask what's the coolest thing you've ever worked on or created, but I know that happens to be what you're currently working on.
Yes.
So I want you to tell us a little bit more about what you have coming up.
My dream is coming alive, people. I can't put it smaller. I have always dreamt of having my own annual event and making it unlike anybody else's. So I am launching that. The first weekend of May, I'm launching Audacity Camp. No, we're not going camping. There's no tents or anything like that. But Audacity Camp is using the unconferencing model. And if you've never unconferenced, it's so freaking amazing. Most conferences you go to, talking about experts, right? You go to a conference and you glue your ass to the same seat the whole time while expert after expert after expert goes on stage and tells you why they are running the world, right? They're the master of the universe. I can't go to another conference like that right now. I just can't. I want to talk to the participants, find out what they're thinking, figure out what they're struggling with, and help them in the moment. Not just me, each other. So Audacity Camp is just a dream of mine finally coming true. And I know you're coming, Sarah. I cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. So, yeah, audacitycamp.com, people. I hope you're there.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
Christina's going to come from Guatemala, right?
Absolutely, clearly.
Yeah, sounds baller. It really does sound really cool.
Thank you.
Cool. So, Jenny, where can people find you online? Or we know that you have this amazing Facebook group, so how do people get into that? Can you give us a little bit of an idea?
Absolutely. So to find me online, you could go to coachjennie.com. It's Jennie with an IE, Jennie with a Y, somebody else. Coachjennie.com. And that's my hub for all things. But if you want to connect with me, the front door to my business is my Facebook community. It's called the Audacity Lab, which stands for League of Ambitious Badasses, like you said. And you can find that on my website. It's at the bottom of every page. Or just search for Audacity Lab in Facebook and you'll find it there. It's a free community, so you can't just get in. I have to accept you so we can keep the bots out. But then I introduce you and put you right to work. You get homework immediately. It's a lot of fun, and I would love to have anybody who wants to be around the Misfit Toys to come hang out with us for a while.
Definitely. There's a ton of motivation and inspiration in that group.
Definitely. And cathartic shoves.
Yeah, more importantly.
Can't forget the cathartic shoves.
Don't ever forget.
Well, this was really fun. I had a great time. I feel like it broadened my horizons. Thank you so much for joining us, Jennie.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.